This week in the Geek, the Nerd, and the Tangent, we get nostalgic for the SNES. Welcome to the Geek, the Nerd, and the Tangent, where we talk about geeky stuff, nerdy stuff, and we go off on tangents.
And brighten your day.
Yeah, we want to just be positive and talk about all kinds of fun stuff. I'm Bret Anderson, and I'm happy to be here. And we have with us Erich.
Hey.
Erich Mueller.
It is me, Erich.
And we have Matt Palmer.
Hello.
So what do we got on the schedule today? We're going to have a weekly update of different things we've been doing and watching and
we got some
things that
good
we've been
stuff.
thinking about. And we're going to then get nostalgic for the Super Nintendo, as I like to call it, because that's what I called it as a kid. There was none of this SNES way of calling it. I just called it the Super Nintendo.
I liked Super NES.
Yeah,
That's what I called it.
Call it that.
I definitely call it Super Nintendo because that's just it was more what it was at the time. There was only really the two. I mean, there was other stuff, but more well known was the regular Nintendo, which I would call it, or the original. Yeah. I'd call it the regular Nintendo, and then the Super
wasn't
Nintendo.
Super. It was regular.
Yeah, it was just
The Super Nintendo came out. That's all you called it because you didn't have to call it the SNES because there wasn't Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii.
We never called the Nintendo. Oh, do you have a Nintendo Entertainment System?
No, that's true. So I have a Nintendo. Like same thing like Sega Genesis. No one ever said just do you have a Genesis? It's always Sega.
Well, I know people called it the Genesis.
I would hear Sega Genesis usually.
Yeah, I would usually.
I wouldn't hear Genesis.
Well,
very
no one
much.
called it the Mega Drive because we live in the U.S., but
Yeah.
there's another.
Or what would they call the Super NES in Japan too? Oh, I
The
forgot.
Famicom.
The Famicom, yeah.
The original name.
The Famicom.
The
That's
Famicom.
weird. I don't know. Super Nintendo sounds cool.
Super
just like
Famicom. We're
Super. You know, and like
Well, no.
Famicom.
Well, when they came out with the Super Famicom, it was the
Yeah,
Super
it was still
Nintendo.
Super. Yeah.
All right, so we'll start with Erich. What do you got going on?
This week we had a death in the world. Kind of affects millions. At least the United States, at least. The death of Barbara Bush. The reason why, she has kind of nostalgic to me is because back in high school, I decided one day, I got a notebook for Christmas, and I was thinking, I should just start doing surveys with this. I don't know why my mind thought of doing surveys. And my very first survey I came up with, and I feel like I still feel cool that I came up with this idea, that the survey was, do you think Barbara Bush looks like Mrs. Claus? And then I kind of brought it out was, if the survey, who do you think looks like more like Barbara Bush? I mean, not Barbara Bush, Mrs. Claus. Barbara Bush, Betty White, or your grandma? And so it's just kind of brings me back to those times in high school. I mean, I don't know.
You took the survey and you collected this data. Did you put it into a table or a
No,
graph?
I just kept it on my handy-dandy notebook. I was just like, whipped it out and be like, hey, everybody, what do you think? Do you think Barbara Bush looks like Mrs. Claus? And then I would just put a check. I would just go up to random people in high school and be like, hey, do you want to take a survey? And they're like, sure. And
Were there a lot of people in your high school that knew what she looked like?
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, I was amazed. I even randomly shouted out to a teacher, and he's like, I think about it. You're right. Barbara Bush does look like Mrs. Claus.
Now the question is, do you still have this notebook? Because we need to plot this. And then we know that back in
maybe
2001 or whenever you
the
did
notebook
this,
started
it
falling
was-
apart, and so pages were falling out. So I could have lost some pages. I would love to go back and see how
Well,
many.
but see, a notebook from back from then, I wouldn't have it all. So if you have it, that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, and also with this is that there was a cartoon the Bushes introduced. It was called Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue. I mean, this was like the ultimate cartoon. It was an anti-drug movie, but this cartoon had every cartoon you loved. You had the Smurfs, Alfs, Ninja Turtles, DuckTales characters. Who else was in it? A lot of them. But the Bushes came on and it would introduce, be like, hey, everybody, stay away from drugs. This video helps you took all your favorite Saturday morning cartoons into one and helped you stay away from drugs. That was also another thing that makes me remember about the Bushes and Barbara Bush. Just that they were in this intro to the most amazing cartoon in the world because it just had all your... You guys remember that cartoon?
I never watched it, honestly.
It's like an anti-drug
Yeah, they showed it in school all the time.
PSA type thing.
And
They
the
showed,
only thing,
no, I remember it was on TV. I remember seeing like there was the Ninja Turtles in it. There was the Tiny Toons.
yeah, there was Garfield.
Garfield. Oh man, and it wasn't Winnie the Pooh in it.
Yeah,
even?
Winnie the Pooh was in it.
So they had like Disney, Warner.
They brought all these cartoon characters together just to say, "Stay away from drugs, kids." And the only reason I loved it was Michelangelo showed up. Like the kid falling into a
There's
sewer.
only one Ninja Turtle.
And Michelangelo shows like, "Hey, dude, you know you're messing up your life, man."
That is great.
And so that's the only thing I loved. I mean,
That's a great campaign.
It was.
Oh man.
I like that.
And so that's my shout out to Barbara Bush, 92. That's a good age to live.
It
I heard
is.
she was a classy woman. So
Yeah. All right, what do you got, Matt?
So this week, I have been thinking about a song. Since we're getting all nostalgic, I was thinking about a song that for some reason to me always felt nostalgic to me. And I was curious about what the actual meaning was intended from the song. A lot of times, who knows what a song is really about unless the actual writer of the song says, this is what the song is about. Because it could be about anything.
like the Beatles with some of their songs, and you're like, I love that song. Then you find out it's about drugs, and you're depressed.
Yeah, kind of like that. But anyway, this song is called Desperately Wanting. It's by Better Than Ezra.
We have a little clip. No, I've never heard this song before. But
Yeah,
it
no,
sound-
it's a good song. It's called Desperately Wanting. The chorus basically talks about running through wet fields as kids in the nighttime, just kind of messing around, having a good time, just wreaking havoc in the middle of the night, essentially, and that sort of thing. And it kind of brought me back to my childhood. Bret may have been part of some of these
Memories.
things, but I mean,
always
I don't
good
know,
to go
because it
back
was
to
kind of a
childhood.
neighborhood thing
What's the-
where the neighborhood kids would get together and just kind of run. We had a lot of orchards around and fields and things that we could run around and play night
all
games. And
houses and other stuff now.
Those
but
are the best.
it's all developed. Yeah, it's really sad. But
by Matt's house, we called it the dirt field.
Oh yeah,
The Dirt
I had-
Hills.
I had a
Oh, the
dirt-
dirt hills.
Yeah, I had the dirt hills.
Well, there's
when
two
I was
different. Yeah,
growing
the
up,
dirt
too.
hills. That's what we call it because
If you didn't have dirt hills, you
there was this
missed out.
field and people had ridden bikes around it enough that it created a track.
yeah,
and
there was an
then-
actual track.
And there was like a track that you could ride your bike on and go on hills and kind of try and jump stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. You
I'd
guys
pull out
had
the old
that.
tote goat. I remember your brother Oli crashing it,
Oh yeah,
going up.
my brothers tend
Crossing
to
the
crash things
ditch.
like that. I never really rode with much motor vehicles, but
You're probably wise. But anyway, this song just reminded me of those good old days of even I remember like sleeping outside with my two older siblings in the middle of the night, and I would be mortified if my children ever did this, but so we would sleep outside, wait till our parents went to bed, and then we'd like go wander around the town.
Oh, yeah.
So we even like walked to the high school and ran through the sprinklers one night, which is a couple miles away probably. We went down to this busy road, State Street, and went to the gas station to get who knows what, just because
and there was no light or crosswalk
there was no light or crosswalk. Yeah,
at that
it was
time.
pretty
It was
sketchy.
just
Yeah, we bet
So
you
it was
it
just some
only two
kids
ways.
going around town, going to the gas station.
life was.
We picked up a
simpler
cat
then.
at some point, I think. But anyway, it's just really nostalgic to
Picked up a
me.
cat.
So yeah, have a listen to this song.
Did
If
you
you,
steal someone's cat?
I don't think so. It was kind of at least we thought it was a stray. He was mean to our cats though, so we ended up getting him put up for adoption. But
But that's maybe you did someone, a favor that way.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, well, this cat, we don't want it. And then one day the cat wasn't there, and they're like, oh,
right. But yeah, have a listen to this song. This is basically exactly what this guy says it's about. So he says it's about song where someone's looking back on their childhood, specifically when he used to camp out with his friends in the summer down in the south, staying up all night, wreaking havoc, throwing rocks at passing cars, knocking over mailbox and vandalizing. And I didn't necessarily get into that kind of stuff, but we just had pretty innocent
did.
fun running
didn't mean
through
to.
yards.
Yeah, Eric accidentally vandalized things.
I did. I mean, not too bad.
Eric will have to count you some interesting stories someday. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just wanted to highlight this song when we're getting into a nostalgic week because I was feeling nostalgic, and this always brings me back to childhood when I hear this song of those good old days when there wasn't development, there was open fields. It was just more innocent and I guess peaceful in a way. So
And you could run around at night and your parents not know, and nothing bad would happen.
nothing bad would happen, right?
I wish that you could. Still
Like I
do
said,
that.
I'd be mortified if I found out my kids were doing that in these days because
People are afraid to go trick or
Well,
treating now.
there's scary people out there. Not that there weren't then too, but it's just it's a
Less
crazy
people
world.
in general.
Yeah.
We have a lot more people here in our area. All right, so
Take it away, Bret.
I've been thinking about Batman.
Batman's the best.
We'll see. We go back to this time a few years ago. See, I have a 4-year-old, and she likes Batman, but she likes Batman because she identifies it with me because she's my little girl, and she's got me wrapped around her finger.
So you are Batman.
To her, yeah. Wish I had as much money as
Right?
Batman.
Or Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
or
I
Scrooge
saw-
McDuck. They're
I
about
s-
the same.
I saw a meme once that was like, there's so many, billionaires in the world, and no one's decided to be Batman. Well, of course, all the stuff that Batman has, A, is science fiction, and 2, no one is as intelligent or athletic or capable as Batman. Batman is actually has superpowers basically, but we all claim, oh, Batman's the best superhero.
And he
because
is
actually
Alfred.
he doesn't have superpowers. The stuff that he goes through and the stuff that he detects with his detective skills and his knowledge of everything, plus all his physical prowess and everything, and the beating he takes from sci-fi weapons and all kinds of stuff, he has superpowers. They're just not explained. But of course, it's a comic book movie, so that's what we want. But
Maybe
comic
he has
book,
healing powers like Wolverine.
yeah, maybe that would crush everybody's thought of him if they're like, oh, Batman actually has superpowers. He was bitten by a radioactive bat, and now he has superpowers. And his parents got killed, and they gave him that is his thing. His parents did get killed. They gave him the motivation to be Batman. But anyways,
What if he was bitten by a radioactive spider, but instead of Spider-Man, he just decided to go with the bat theme?
yeah, he's like, I got powers from a spider, but
I like bats.
I like bats.
He just prefers bats.
Then have him stick to the wall. There's probably a crossover somewhere where DC and Marvel got together, and there's a Batman, Spider-Man book out there.
There's actually Image Comics did a crossover between characters. Actually, a Batman Wolverine mix.
Oh, it was that the amalgam thing where they were mixing them.
Yeah.
He got Dark Claw or whatever he was.
Yeah, it was Starclaw.
But anyways, back to my 4-year-old. So I wore a T-shirt. She was only 2 at the time. It was a Batman T-shirt, and she was totally into, what is this shirt Dad's wearing? I'm like, this is Batman. And ever since then, she was like, I like anything Batman is just interesting to her because that has to do with Dad. So she has Batman pajamas and stuff like that. Or Batgirl, although she just calls it Batman. We're like, you're a little Batgirl, and she just refers to it as Batman jammies. Sorry, technical difficulty. But anyway, so I've been showing her some of the Batman the Animated Series, and she actually requested this week to watch some of it. And it's just interesting watching that with her. The show pushed limits of what you would show to kids, but yet I think it's the perfect balance of what a Batman kind of thing should be. Because Batman, when you see Batman is too dark or too gritty or gory for kids, that kind of bugs me because I think that Batman should be for everyone. So I thought Batman the Animated Series did a good job of like having that intensity and darkness, but yet also make it still okay for kids to watch. But it's the coolest thing. We were watching this episode where the Joker is like giving this laughing gas to Gotham, and then while everybody's going crazy laughing, he can like steal stuff, and he's doing it from this garbage barge. And so
yeah,
Batman
I like that one.
follows him to the garbage, to the landfill or whatever, and he's fighting him, and he's like going through this tube, and he's sliding through, and then there's this big pit of fire burning garbage, and my daughter's like like reacting to everything that's going on.
awesome.
She's like, oh no, like she thinks Batman's going to die, and just like like this is excitement, and then everything he slides down the tube, grabs a rope, and it looks like he burns his backside, but he must have like fire retardant underwear that he wears on the outside, and he swings up to this rail and he catches the Joker. And everything's fine, and she's like, okay, I want to watch another episode. So we ended up the next night watching 2 more episodes. This is what happens when my wife's gone for the evening. And
It's always the way it is.
and so it's just so fun to be able to share stuff with your kids, and that Batman animated series has always been just a fun show to watch because it's just good for all ages. I mean, it's a little intense for some kids probably, but in general, it's just I just love it. So
Yeah, I never thought of it being. I just watched it as a cartoon. I never thought about it being something scary or over the top. I mean, I watched Gargoyles recently, and I'm surprised how much dark things they had. They had more murder and mayhem in that show, and that was by Disney than Batman.
yeah, I think that was like Disney's reaction to like we need to do. Like that Batman the Animated Series brought on a lot of different shows like that. It was a popular thing during the 90s. All right. You guys want to talk about the Super Nintendo?
I suppose that's a good plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going back to the 90s. Let's talk about what really brought us.
A lot of flashbacks today, a lot of nostalgia.
Well,
That's what we like.
I love nostalgia. I'm a very nostalgic person.
Yeah, and nostalgia's huge right now, especially for people in their 30s and 40s.
That's why we have movies like Ready Player One.
Yeah, we all saw that together, actually.
I think the book Ready Player One was more toward the 80s audience.
Yeah, it
the
did.
movie they
I
just
didn't-
made more for general audiences. Still kind of 90s more, I guess, and
it felt like
but they tried to put more stuff in there. There was 80s, like the
music.
DeLorean and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know, Spielberg put his stuff in there, but it was, I think, more generalized audience than the book was.
Spielberg was at his high point in the 80s anyways. You would think you would
Yeah,
want to throw
Spielberg
in.
did some great stuff in the 80s for sure.
Yeah, they got the guy who made some of the most nostalgic movies from the 80s to direct Ready Player One. And it's interesting. I'm like, Spielberg directing something like that. I'm like, he's been doing a lot of, for the past 10 years or so, he's been doing more of his different types of movies. And to come to something like this was interesting to have him come back to it.
He's mostly done biops. If I think about it, you have like War Horse, Lincoln, The Post.
Yeah.
He's done some little projects here and there as well.
And to see him go back to something that's a little more of a popcorn movie is interesting to see.
Kind of fun. It's kind of fun. It was a good movie. Super Nintendo?
So I got a story to tell. I'll start with this.
Well, the Super Nintendo, didn't come out in 94, 93?
1990.
1990, the Super
Yeah.
Nintendo came out in
Super
1990?
Yeah, 1990.
1990.
Yeah.
Wow.
It
Oh,
is.
that must have been in America? I'm checking.
I remember it coming much later because I would not have been 4 years old.
It was 1990 and 1991.
1991 in North America.
Wow.
Okay, but it didn't.
I had my facts wrong there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But I think I was probably around 94, 95. I have to think back is when I got a Super Nintendo. I think Matt already had one at the time.
I don't know. I can't remember that timeline exactly. I remember you guys getting one for Christmas, and I was super jealous because we had to save up our money and like do chores and
chores.
stuff. And you guys got
Always
the
about
Super
the chores.
Nintendo
that was the best Christmas.
and got your Donkey Kong Country with it.
I got a belt, and I got some socks, and Oli got the same thing, and we're just like,
Oh, wow.
This Christmas is kind of bumming us out.
Belt and socks.
And there was like a few other things. There was some fun things in there, but we're just like, oh. And then the last present, my parents bring it out.
That's
And we're
that's
like,
exciting.
Yeah, a Super Nintendo. Oh man. With Donkey Kong Country, that new game that we see commercials for. Man, everything. The kids these days, I don't know what commercials that we were delivered a lot of ads.
I know.
90s commercials
Super
were
Nintendos.
something else.
We had a ton of ads watching TV, and it was like, whoa.
I actually still remember that Christmas. I think it was a Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
Probably
I think I
was.
remember seeing you guys at church.
They're like, we got a Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and you told us about the Super Nintendo.
I just loved how bright and colorful it was. Super Mario World, I was so sleek compared to just like Super Mario 3, and just was amazing. You could fly, you can just
No. And when, so this thing. So we got it for Christmas, and we got Donkey Kong Country. It came with Mario Paint, and we got Super Mario World. You know, what was it called? Is that what that's
Super
what the
Mario
one it's
World.
called? The official name was Super
Yeah.
Mario World. And then my grandma gave us Turtles in Time.
Oh,
What?
Turtles in Time.
But see, this is why
that's
I
the
think
best hookup
Matt
right
already
there.
they already had their Super Nintendo, I think, because they had Turtles in Time too. Also, you know, yeah, and that was fun. I always wish that Turtles in Time, like you could play 4 players. I'm like, if I got that 4-player thingy, because the multi-tap, but I don't know what I would have called it back then. If I plugged that in, would I be able to play it 4 players?
Well, I mean, the arcade. I mean, they had the arcade that you could do 4 players, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Playing through all, and then if you played Turtles in Time on a higher difficulty all the way through, you got an extra thing at the ending, which I only did once.
yeah, the cranes.
Shredder was pretty hard at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
If you
super
did it on
shredder.
hard. If it was on easy, it wasn't too bad.
yeah. Easy was that game was.
I could always change. I always would change the colors of the turtles to the comic book style, so they weren't all the same color green. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
I
yeah, and
do
this is
that.
like the action figures, because the action figures had them in the different coloring, where you had like Donatello was
It was
this
like a
weird
brown.
brownish color, and like Raphael was super bright green, and then like pea green for Leonardo, and then Michelangelo was like some other green. But yeah, the Donatello was like brown.
They're all shades of
Yeah.
brown.
Oh,
to
there's
green.
like yellowish color. It was like Leonardo was slightly yellowish or something like that.
Let me ask you guys this. What would you say your top 3 Super Nintendo games are? Give a runner-up if you need to.
Top 3. Oh man.
I have so many. I have a huge list.
Nope.
Yeah,
top 3. Top 3.
top
What's
3.
your top 3, Eric?
I would have to say Super Mario World. I love Bomberman. Bomberman was cool. That's not my top one.
That's a 4-player. If you do get the thing, I think you can.
It was 4-player.
You can get the emulator up, and we should all play it. Bomberman was fun. I didn't actually have the cartridge for it, though. I would rent stuff about every weekend, though.
That's
Right,
too hard of
try
a
out.
question for me. I really can't. I can't tell you what my. I mean, I have a huge list that were just amazing games. It would just had so many amazing games that you could just. I mean, I loved Super Mario, Donkey Kong Country. I loved Street Fighter. I mean, I don't know why. I remember
man.
playing that game with my
Street
buddies all
Fighter
the time.
2 was-
Yeah, Street Fighter 2 combo, NBA Jam.
Oh,
NBA Jam. That was so good.
man.
I mean,
The best sports game ever.
He's on fire.
yeah, that was the best.
From
Just
downtown.
heating up. Boom shakalaka.
Razzle dazzle.
Oh, so good. Okay. Well, if you can't answer the question, that's okay. But those are some good shout
Turtles
outs.
in Time. Okay, I got it. Super Mario World, Turtles in Time, and I'm going to say NBA Jam.
Right on.
All
Brett?
good ones. My top, Donkey Kong Country. That first Donkey Kong Country is just like, that was like one of the first games we got, and we played that over and over again. That was so good. I never was all that quite good. I could never actually beat the final Kremlin or whatever his name. It's like some anti-commie thing.
Have you ever gone back to fulfill your childhood?
Oh, I've played stuff here and there, like because the Nintendo's at my parents' house, and I did play a little that. And then
You still have your original Super Nintendo.
The original Super Nintendo. Oh,
Ours took a beating, so we had to.
yeah. I was thinking of that because we would play on ours, and then we'd go over to you because you guys had Mario Kart. We didn't.
Oh yeah.
So we'd come over and play Mario Kart with you guys, and your controllers were always like sticky buttons. It's like you guys were eating tons of food or something. Like it was like, oh man, the buttons aren't quite right, and the controller's kind of sticky.
There's a possibility.
I have an experience with sticky, broken controllers. I mean, I still am ticked about this. So I only played at my friend's house, and their controllers were always breaking, and they had Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. The reason why this was cool because you could actually morph, and the only way you could
Like
morph.
you go from like
the kid, the teenager,
good-looking high school kid who's actually in his 20s turns into
and you
to
could
a
actually
Japanese
morph.
show.
You could push the right button. You powered up. You pushed it, and you could morph. But their right button was not working, so I never got to see them morph. I'm still.
Man, that is brutal.
It was. I'm frustrated still. I want to see. I want to play so I can just morph.
So your top favorite is Donkey Kong?
Donkey Kong Country. Some top favorite. And then Super Mario World, always a blast. And then number 3, oh man.
Super Mario All Stars. That was another cool.
Oh man. Oh, All-Stars? Oh.
But
I
that
always
was
wanted
just-
that one. That's just
Yeah, that was just cool.
was just
to
a
have all your
reissue
all
of
your
those
Mario
old
games in one.
But it was like better to play. I'm like, I want to play Mario 2 in this way and not on the...
Man, Mario 2 was weird.
Oh man, what is my number 3? Turtles in Time. I have tons of memories of that. And I have
This cave is creepy.
this cave is creepy.
When he'd fall into the sewer.
That's just
Which
totally
is
memorable. I
strange.
don't even think it was like the best game I've ever. It really isn't like the best game.
Oh, it's
you've
a
ever
great
played.
game.
It's an arcade style game, and it's great.
I think part of it that makes it great is that you're playing with somebody and you're fighting together, the bad
Oh,
guys.
yeah,
so
you
it's more of a cooperative
at the same time
type
yeah.
of game. I think that's part of what makes it so fun.
Yeah. Oh, what's number 3? I'm trying to think through. I did like Mario Paint because we had that
Mario
too.
Paint.
Like
I
those
remember
first
that.
3 games and Turtles in Time are so informative, and I loved coming over and playing Mario Kart. And you know what another game I loved coming over and playing because you guys had it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament.
Oh
Fight.
yeah, Tournament Fighter was awesome.
Oh, that was a
I'm
great
like,
game.
who are these other characters? I've never seen these other
Right?
characters. It like was totally bringing out like I don't know where these characters came from, like the shark guy, and I'm like, why don't they have it? And then like on some of the stages, you have Bebop and Rocksteady and Baxter Stockman and Casey Jones all in the background, and you're like, why aren't those characters in the game? Like,
Why aren't they
can't
fighting, too?
Why can't I?
And then there was a random female. I don't know who she was, but she.
Oh, yeah. She always hit people with her butt. That was
Yeah,
unfun.
she was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Asa-
she had this weird butt move.
Asa had this weird butt move, which is actually a really good attack because it's like, but the
It was
cool thing
weird.
about the game
Really
is
weird attack. Yeah.
is it's simplistic because it doesn't use the shoulder buttons, it doesn't use left and
Oh, it
right,
didn't?
so you have fewer attacks. So then it was easier to do some of the moves than like playing Street Fighter, where you're like, do I need to use out of the 3 punches that I have? Oh, and Street Fighter I have tons of memories of. Oh man,
Do you remember
This
that
is hard
sound
top 3
when a
so
character
hard.
would die when you'd beat a character with the sound they would make? And all of the characters
Oh yeah, that's
that sound.
it's like actually recorded sounds on this game.
So top 3, Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario World,
and
Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time. Let's go.
That's fair.
There's so many good games.
Those are some good games.
I know my top 2.
I have a list.
I know those top 2. Street Fighter. Oh man, I played.
If
that
you
with
come
my
back to it,
cousins.
let us know, but
Oh,
we'll
man.
keep it at that for now.
Another game that I loved was Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Oh yeah, Eric
Yeah.
introduced me to that, and you could play it 2 players at the same
Yeah.
time. Crazy,
Interesting.
crazy
I mean,
weird.
You would think it would be more popular now. They would do a remake because how popular zombies are now. I mean, you're these 2 kids with squirt guns. You go and rescue your neighbors, and there's little weird babies, and they give this weird laugh, and they're like, "Oh, there's a giant! No, it's a giant baby."
I
You
think
have to
I'm surprised this game wasn't on Eric's top 3 because.
Yeah. It was
Because
just funny
he's
to
like,
me.
you got to get this game, and so we downloaded it, and then we played it, and I was like, oh, interesting. But I could totally see playing it as a kid would have been great. What now, Matt? What's your top 3?
Top 3. It is a tough choice, but number 1 would have to be Donkey Kong Country. I still play that game to this day. Every once in a while, I'll crack it out, and I feel like I'm pretty good at that game. And I will challenge anyone who wants to challenge me.
Oh, do the 2-player mode where you each play your own set.
Yeah.
You get to be Donkey Kong with the yellow tie and Diddy with the yellow hat.
Right, which I do kind of wish we could do a split screen because
Oh,
it
that
really
would be
gets
cool.
kind of boring watching the other person play.
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel like I could take you on, get all the secrets, no dying.
Oh yeah, the secret mode. I'll find you.
Even though Cranky Kong wants you to beat it in 1 hour, get all the secrets, and not die, but that's not even possible because if you're going as fast as you can, you barely beat it.
You
under
actually
an
read
hour.
what Cranky says.
Yeah,
I
at
never
the end,
read,
he's
I never
like,
read any of
because
that.
he's trying to
Do it
get you to
in
play
an
the
hour.
game again. So he says, try to do it without dying. Try to do it without hitting, without or in less than an hour. Try to
Yeah,
do it.
there's no
in-
way you. I mean, those were hard
If you do them
levels.
together, I've done them all separately, but not together. I've done 2 of them together, but you can anyway. So Donkey
yeah.
Kong Country, favorite game. It's got to be.
There, because Oli was always better. Oli's my brother. He was always way better at any game than me. So eventually I'd get to a level where I couldn't beat it or whatever, and then I just watch him play, and he beat the game. I couldn't beat that fat alligator guy with the crown.
Oh yeah,
King
I still
Kremlin
can't do
or whatever.
it.
I can't get the rhythm down.
Yeah, you have to
It is a rhythm. It's a dance.
Yeah.
because he jumps high and then you have.
And then
to,
like the things start dropping down. Then it's a different thing that's dropping down the other direction, and it's like there's totally a rhythm to it.
I just love the dink sound anytime you put in a game. Just dink, and then
Oh yeah.
it says Nintendo.
Yeah. So I think my second favorite. That's tough to call. It may be Yoshi's Island.
Ooh, Yoshi's Island.
So that was a
Super
really
Mario
good
2,
game.
I remember you guys had that.
Yeah, Yoshi's Island was a lot of fun.
It's more strategic.
It's really hard to rank these games, but I'm throwing that one out there because no one said it yet, mostly.
No. I have
But
it on my
was
list.
it was a really solid, good game. Yoshi's Island. So Donkey Kong Country, Yoshi's Island. I've got to say probably Turtles in Time, but some, I guess, what am I looking for here? Runner-ups or honorable mentions. I would also go with Turtles in Time. I would say probably Donkey Kong Country 2. That was a good game.
I never played those. The
Donkey
sequels.
Kong Country 2
Sequels
was
were good.
pretty
I heard
good.
they're better.
I like the first one better. Maybe it's nostalgia, but also I liked playing the Donkey Kong Diddy thing because you didn't play as Donkey Kong in Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah.
And
Did you play that girl who could have the hair and shit? I mean, I remember going to Sears and seeing that. I'm like, oh, they made a sequel.
Yeah, it was great. I would
Yeah,
say
it was good.
Mortal Kombat was another one. It was a lot of
Mortal
fun.
Kombat. No,
I
Mortal
loved
Kombat
chopping
is.
the different materials.
It is. I just love whoopsie.
I remember maybe this was just
Yeah,
in my
come
head.
here.
Come here.
There was kind of like in my mind. Well, Mortal Kombat was
Finish
like,
him.
that's got blood in it.
Yeah, it was
I
like a
know.
big
It was
deal.
it was the controversial game.
Your
It's
mom lets you play Mortal.
It's like green blood, I think, in
No,
some
it's-
cases.
yeah, there was.
Or maybe I don't know.
It was
There's-
all blood. It was red blood.
Then you do your
Yeah,
fatality.
the
or whatever.
fatalities.
It is kind
were
of a messed up game,
brutal.
but it was fun.
If you could get the fatality down,
What I am curious, Brett, if you remember this game. So one thing with us, since we had to save up our money, sometimes we got impatient and we just went to buy games and we had to buy the cheaper ones because we got impatient, didn't want to save up for the more expensive ones unless it was
Plock.
really worth it. Plock is what I'm going to
Because
ask you
that
about.
was
If
the
you
best
remember Plock,
purchase that Mike made. He
that
like-
was the most quirky game.
I'm like, wow. And he's like,
And I mean glitchy, I guess. By quirky, I mean glitchy.
but it's interesting because he's like this floating body with hands and legs that aren't attached.
They just like fly off of him hitting bad guys. And depending on different things, you end up at different parts in the game. I don't think we ever played that game through because it was so glitchy that we would get to a certain level, but then we'd suddenly end up in another part of the game. It was just really strange. But I would be in a bad position if I did not.
Mention that.
Mention
I was
Plock.
hoping,
You have to
I was
mention
thinking
games.
about when we were going to talk about this. I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's going to bring up Plock.
Bonkers was another one.
Bonkers. Oh, was that based off the
It was
Bonkers
the cartoon, yeah.
yeah, everything. They made a cartoon. I mean,
the
they
Disney
made a
cartoon.
Super Nintendo game for everything. There was a game called Shaq Fu. You were Shaq, and somehow you got teleported to this magic land, and then you were a kung fu fighter.
This was the time where everything was turned into a video game.
It was.
And that went on.
Home Improvement even got a video game.
That went on even into the Nintendo 64 era and PlayStation, but like a lot of those games are terrible. They were just like, we got to do a game.
There were some good games though. Have you ever played a game called Sunset Riders? There
Oh
were
yeah.
two cowboys, and you could just. I love that game. That was a good game. I have a whole game list of just games that I remember. Joe and Mac. You were these cavemen, and you fight dinosaurs. We got Bomberman, Lemmings. Another one I loved. I never got to beat it. It was hard for me. Was Mickey Mouse Magical Quest. You got to turn. You had like magic powers. You turned into a firefighter. It was pretty cool.
I feel like the Super Nintendo was a time period where video games were a little different than they are today.
Yeah.
Or they were more join your friend at your friend's house, and because this friend's got this cool game now, and you go over and play it. Whereas today it's more you can or cannot go to their house. You could make that choice because you can play
Online.
online. You could do whatever you want, and you could play this game or that game.
But still, Nintendo's still all about the co-op games. I mean, like, look at the Super Smash Brothers. You have Mario Kart now. I mean, those games.
Still have those split screen
GoldenEye.
stuff.
Oh, GoldenEye. We can't dive too much into GoldenEye.
We have to go into an N64 nostalgia show.
But still, I mean, Nintendo has kept that family.
I just remembered another great game for Super Nintendo was Mario RPG.
Oh yeah, Mario RPG.
Did you ever play that? It was kind of the starter, and then
Yeah.
I think Paper Mario took over
Yeah.
on the 64 for that kind of platform. But
Yeah.
it was a
More of
great game.
a role-playing type
Yeah,
game.
role-playing games, I always thought they were more
Oh,
sophisticated.
Final Fantasy 3. Well,
Yeah.
it was like Final Fantasy 3 in the US. I don't know what number it was in Japan. It was like 6 or something like that. But Final Fantasy 3, such a good RPG. Never really played it. Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger.
Did you guys play that?
I played
never
it.
did.
That was a good
We
RPG.
played it on the one we brought it out on the PlayStation, but I didn't. And then I learned it
Well,
was.
actually, now the greatest RPG on the SNES, the Super Nintendo, is Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Oh yeah,
you guys play
Zelda.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did.
I never
That's-
played it.
that's
I always
so
thought
good.
it
One
was
of the greatest Zelda games.
I can
for
play that
sure.
as an adult and be
Yeah,
like,
I can play that game
thoroughly
now, but as a kid, that was a more like a sophisticated game.
It was a harder game.
like the
Oh, yeah.
like the Final
Oh, yeah.
Fantasies. My cousins had those games, and they were always playing them. They
You
were
had a
big.
lot of reading.
but-
You had to get into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then you weren't really fighting.
But
You just walked around, and then you like
Zelda was
battle
better
mode.
because Zelda, you actually can go and you're chopping stuff. You're doing the playing. Zelda, Final Fantasy style is like, okay, I'm all of a sudden getting sucked into a battle. Okay, I got to select my attack. Oh, I'm doing a blitz. I have to do a certain key combination. It wasn't.
The stories were always intriguing, but I just never got into them. Even though I finally did play Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation, and that was up notch. It was still a weird, it's an interesting story mostly.
Yeah. Okay, interesting stuff. So in conclusion, or Matt, you look like you have something more to say.
No, I was just gonna finish my thought from earlier.
Oh, yeah,
that-
we cut you off.
No, it's totally fine.
I do got a story I like to tell too.
That's
Yeah,
great.
stories are
I would just say that the Super Nintendo has some great memories. I think the video gaming was different then. You really got together with your friends. It was something that brought people together because you wanted to see who has this new game, who's got this. Did you get past such and such level? I remember the factory level was the big thing in Donkey Kong Country for me back in the day.
That was.
And I think me and my neighbor Kevin had a sleepover one night and ate all my sister's Otter Pops while we played Aladdin.
Yeah, Aladdin.
But anyway, there's great memories. You get people together. It's not quite the same anymore, and I think that's partially, the reason for this throwback or this nostalgic episode for the Super Nintendo. It was a big part of our lives growing up.
Yeah, I miss that couch sitting on the floor most of the time.
Or the piles
Next-
of books.
I was in moon chairs. Every time me and my buddies, we'd sit in the basement on the moon chairs.
What do you mean moon chairs?
Like a
like the
banana.
banana
Yeah, banana chairs. Yeah, banana chairs.
Moon chairs is
That's-
fine. It's
Maybe it had
they're the same
pictures of
shape.
moons on it.
Yeah, that's what I. But here's,
Crescent moon chair.
with the Super Nintendo, it kind of made me a delinquent. Not really, but I didn't steal anything
you
for it too. But me and my friends, we were obsessed with the Game Genie. We
Oh,
rented.
yeah.
We wanted the Game Genie so bad. There was a rental store near us, but they didn't have the Game Genie. So we decided, me and him, we walked like 3 miles or more along a busy road, farther than we should have. We were 10 years old. I know we would have gotten in trouble for walking this far, but we were so desperate to go and get the Game Genie to rent it. We walked like miles just to get this. I mean, that's just nuts. I mean, that shows you how awesome this system was, or how crazy us kids were about this system, that we were willing to walk miles just to go and rent the Game Genie so we could beat Mario. Really, that's what came down to.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
The Game Genie.
Do you remember the converter for the Game Boy?
Oh,
So-
Super Game Boy.
Yeah, Super Game Boy. And I would play Tecmo Bowl. That was such a good game.
And doing
Oh,
chores.
Tecmo Bowl. That's
I-
the other greatest sports game.
It's a
ever
great
made.
sports game.
Oh, there was a wrestling game I remember playing on Super Nintendo. I don't remember. It was a good wrestling game. The only wrestling game I ever played, but it was funny. You could just like pick each other up and slam each other's heads.
Well, you can talk about wrestling games. You have to have a Nintendo 64 discussion.
yeah, they did.
Did you play the WCW game on N64?
I'm not sure that I did, actually.
Oh man, me and my brothers, I think we just borrowed it from people. I don't think we ever owned it, and we rented it a lot. That game was awesome because you could play 4 players in the ring at the same time. Dude, it was like the best wrestling game we
That
ever
is pretty
played.
good.
And then
So
I've
it's kind of a precursor to Mario, or was it Super Smash Brothers?
No. Well, it was real professional wrestling. Like
Yeah,
you
like
pick
the
your-
WWE.
Yes,
or
at
F-
the time, it was the
yeah.
WCW.
Oh, yeah,
because that
WCW
a
was the
competing-
popular.
in
Yeah,
the
at that
90s,
time.
that was a popular
That was.
league or whatever. I don't know how. It's all the same to me, but
I mean, it was just amazing what we were willing to do to play the Super Nintendo. Like, I would go over to my friend's house. We would do chores for them so we could go to the store and rent. And
That's
have
right.
A
You'd help your
sleepover.
friends with the chores so you could
Yeah. I
so
mean,
you could
that's.
play.
I mean, I wouldn't do my own chores at home, but I would do my own chores at a friend's house so we could rent.
It's funny. Good old Super Nintendo. A lot of good memories, a lot of
And
good
the music.
nostalgia. Those were different times.
Games now are just like most games. I mean, you have like for some reason Xbox and PlayStation have these older games. They don't. Nintendo's still family oriented. That's what I like about them still.
well, stuff for a lot of people to play, and really just about having fun and not about some in-depth experience. It's about just having fun.
Yeah, like I think my daughter is upstairs playing Breath of the Wild right now. And it's great. It's great. She could just wander around, do what she wants, discover things, pick stuff up. Video games have come a long way.
I
that's
did
for
go
sure.
outside a few times with my friends. We just didn't play video games.
Yeah. There was the
Oh,
outside
yeah.
times, but that's where the orchards and the
no.
fields came into play, and
yeah.
I loved those days.
Yeah, you still
Riding around motorcycles and tote goats and playing night games and
I
just
did play
walking
more
around.
Super Nintendo than I should have when my friend got bored and he would go out and play, and I would still be downstairs in his basement playing.
I could definitely see that.
Those were good times. Actually, one thing is nice is that they imported some Super Nintendo games to the Game Boy, the Super Game Boy. I mean, the Game Boy Advance, and so it's nice to have those games now,
Right.
just there on.
Yep.
And,
It's very true. You could get everything on different emulators now
yeah,
too.
and they have downloads now on your. I mean, at least the Wii and the Wii U could have had downloads for your old classic games, and I don't. Hopefully, the Switch will do that.
Yeah,
Oh, I did just think of a great story. Well,
Okay.
it was great to me. I don't know if this is interesting at all, but so there was very little overlap between me and my older sister going to school together, except I was in first grade and she was in sixth. So after that, we pretty much never saw each other again. But we rode the bus together for that year of our schooling lives. And I remember still sitting in our unfinished basement with the Super Nintendo. We were playing Donkey Kong Country, and we were not to a save point. We had one more level to go, and we literally had zero
Can't
lives.
get to Candy Kong.
Yeah, we had to
Yeah.
get to Candy Kong. We had 0 lives, which means this is your absolutely last try. And we were playing Elevator Antics,
Oh.
which was such a tough level for us at the
yeah.
time.
Oh yeah,
It was the tough ones.
That,
You
that
have-
whole world there has a lot of interesting levels.
yeah, like the more industrial area.
Yeah,
Yeah,
industrial.
it had some tough ones. But with our 0 lives, we beat Elevator Antics, we saved our game, and we got to the bus on time to get to school. So I was very Excited for that.
Oh,
I
man.
had to throw that out there.
I never could play in the morning because I wouldn't have been able to be no discipline. My mom.
I always
would have
was
to-
able to catch a cartoon in the morning before school, but that was about it.
Or Power Rangers.
That was afternoon. No, Power Rangers probably was in the morning.
Remember morning.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
I think that's everything.
I've got one more thing.
Oh, you do?
I got one more thing. Okay.
It's not Super Nintendo, but I did each week. I want to do a little bit of a shout out to some classic movies.
Oh yeah, we got Matt's Classic Movie Minute.
Movies, classic movies.
And we always want to hear from you guys through any of our social media forums, through email, through Facebook, through Instagram, through Twitter, and we'll let you know how to get in touch with us through those. We want to hear about your experiences with the Super Nintendo. Maybe you grew up with it, maybe you didn't, but we want to hear about it nonetheless. I also would love to hear about the classic movie minute that I am going to present at least most weeks. Just make, as long as I have a chance to do it. But I wanted to spotlight a movie that I watched last night with my wife called The African Queen. It's on a lot of lists for best movies ever made. It was made in 1951.
Humphrey Bogart.
And
I watched this one time.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
It's been a while, but
So Humphrey Bogart, Audrey Hepburn together. It's a really fascinating movie. I absolutely love her character. I think it's very forward-thinking character especially for the time. But essentially, she's a Christian missionary in Africa. The Germans, the World War I is beginning. The Germans are doing some crazy stuff in Africa, trying to take all the people and make them into soldiers, essentially. So at the beginning of the movie, it's her and her brother, who is essentially a preacher or a minister of some kind. And she's kind of thrown into this situation because the Germans come and they basically take all the villagers, burn the village down. The brother dies. Not to give away spoilers, but that's just how it starts. And then she is thrown into this situation where she gets on a boat with Humphrey Bogart's character, and they don't know what to do, and he wouldn't do anything, but she's a very strong personality and insistent, wondering how to help in the efforts for the war. And so they decide to go essentially take down a boat that's blocking the way for, I think, the Americans or the UK to come in and kind of take care of things in Africa, essentially. So it's Louisa as the boat. And so she says, essentially they make a torpedo out of the boat. They drive it down the river through a lot of precarious situations.
some crazy, like those rivers in Africa, I imagine, are pretty crazy to go down.
Like
Right.
sending Moses down the Nile.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's very fascinating. I love these two characters together. She's a really interesting character, especially. She's the main driver of this idea and why they're doing this to help the war efforts. They take the boat down. I won't tell you how it ends.
There's good performances. Like it's a movie of that era, classic golden. I don't know what their era is specifically called, but it's that Bogart and Hepburn. Like,
Oh yeah, those
Right.
two are the
oh
classics.
man,
Some good stuff. So I'd encourage you to watch that. If you have watched it, give us some comments about it. What did you think? Why do you think it's on the list of best movies ever made? And if you haven't watched it, watch it and then tell us what you think as well. Love to hear about it.
what year did it come out?
1951.
51. Yeah. So it's in color, folks.
It is color. Not all the classic movies, I'll point out, are going to be in color, though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course,
Yeah.
Yeah, no. There's
I know there's some people with issues when it turns black and white. They just kind of, their eyes
brain-
just go
yeah.
dead
I
for
don't,
some
I don't
reason.
know why,
You just have to get used
I mean,
to
I get
black
it
and
because
white.
we're bombarded
We're
with color and
color.
all sorts of stuff today.
but there's some.
Once you get into it, those are some of the best movies that you can
Yeah.
watch. So,
I still need to see Citizen Kane.
yeah, you do.
They say that's
And
the
the-
number one movie
yeah,
of all
but-
time.
Maybe we'll all watch that and highlight that one week.
should.
And then you can hear me complain about it.
Complain about it.
No, I'm like,
I mean,
technically brilliant. The
Citizen-
story, I don't care.
Really?
Yeah, everyone. I mean, there's so many.
like the
people
story.
make comments about Citizen Kane. And
Rosebud.
Yeah, that's one of the most classic things you could ever. I mean, how many times has the term
pushes-
rosebud been?
yeah.
Oh no,
Rosebud has.
it claims a place in cinema history for sure.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, so that's my movie minute. The African Queen. Check that out. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. So that's a wrap for today.
Make sure we tell everyone where to follow us.
Yeah, Eric, where can people
yeah.
find us?
Okay, yeah. Follow us on Twitter at Geek Nerd Tangent. And then we have Facebook. Like and share our Facebook page.
Facebook.com/geeknerdtangent. You can even check it out if you don't even need a Facebook account to actually see the page. It's public.
And then follow us on Instagram. We show our pictures. We put funny things so we can help you brighten your day. If you're scrolling, like I'm sad. Follow us. We'll have something funny for you. So follow us on Instagram, which would be also at Geek Nerd Tangent, and we're there. So follow us on all social media. We're here to brighten your day, make you feel better about yourself, and bring you something positive. That's what we're about.
Yeah, and I've added a voicemail line. You can leave us a voicemail, and we might play you on the show. I'm trying to find the
Now that's weird, wild stuff.
weird wild stuff. Yeah.
Johnny Carson. He's the best.
The voicemail line is 801-769-6668. That'll help you remember. Yeah, I want to leave a voicemail because it has 666 in it. Unintentional.
Easy to remember.
that does remind me of a kid. I dialed 666 a long time ago on payphones, and it took me someplace in some foreign country, and I was like, "Oh no, the devil's in Zimbabwe or someplace." I don't know. Zimbabwe. It was a real number, and it was like
All right.
That's specifically where the devil's camping out. Zimbabwe.
I don't know what it was. Some foreign place, and we already hung up because we were scared.
And also, you can email us at geeknerdtangent@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We'll answer your questions. We'd love to play your voicemails, all that sort of thing.
Just let us know what you think and give us a good review on iTunes because we're now on iTunes.
And until then, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.